percentage contributed to by purchase of land is removed. We have instituted tax incentives to lower construction expenses and encourage private sector investment. These deliberate choices anchor affordability while ensuring developments are well planned, serviced, and integrated into urban transformation. We have also enacted enabling legislation, notably the Affordable Housing Act of 2024, which established the Affordable Housing Fund. Sat with President Mahama, he asked me, how are you funding? This is through the housing levy, matched by employers. We are mobilizing resources now, transforming informal settlements into vibrant, dignified communities. At the same time, we have expanded access to finance. The Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company provides concessional fixed-rate mortgages to thousands of low and middle-income families, making ownership a reality for many who were once excluded. And the Kenya Refinance Mortgage Facility, we got the support of Africa Development Bank to boost it together, and also the World Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, these efforts in Kenya must be seen as within the bigger context that while progress is possible, the financing gap remains vast. Across Africa and beyond, the scale of need dwarfs available resources. Without adequate and predictable financing, adequate and affordable housing will remain out of reach for many. That is why this dialogue this morning matters. It is not just to share experience, but to rally political will and mobilize resources. I propose that today's gathering be remembered as the launch of a champions initiative for adequate housing, a platform for leadership, advocacy, financing, and accountability. Kenya, as the host of the UN Habitat, stands ready to work with each and every one of you on a joint roadmap with clear targets, milestones, and transparent reporting before the next assembly. We will align with Resolution 22 on informal settlements and the Building Climate Resilience Within Urban Poor initiative, ensuring commitments translate into real change for the most vulnerable. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our success will not be measured by the pledges we make, but by the communities we uplift, the roofs we raise, and the dignity we restore. Housing must not be a privilege for the few who can afford. It must become the lived reality of all human beings. I thank you for your attention.
Before that, let me express how impressed I am at the effort that our brothers and sisters in Kenya are making to provide affordable housing. I was very impressed when I watched the video. And I asked President Ruto, I said, but how are you funding this? And so he's giving me a few tips, which I hope that I can go back to Ghana with. Housing is a basic human need. And indeed, it is important if our people are to live in dignity. Unfortunately, because of other pressing budgetary needs, education, health, agriculture, and so on, often housing is relegated to the background. I think with the help of UN Habitat, Shelter Afrique, and all that, this is a time for us to reposition the issue of housing so that our people can get decent places to live. In Ghana, the biggest cost to every household is accommodation. Because of the shortage of housing, the landlords take a premium in terms of rent. And so people with salaries are called to make rent advances of 1 year and 2 years before they can get a place to lay their head. A housing deficit of 2.8 million homes. We've cut that down to about 1.8, but still there's a lot of pressure for people to own their own homes. Now there's a question about affordable housing and low-cost housing. We have done several affordable housing projects, but however we try, because of the high cost of building materials, a home comes typically at a cost of about $50,000. Now, is $50,000 for a home affordable? Look at what the living wage is in different countries to be able to determine that. And so often you find that it is the rich, the middle class that snap up these houses, and more ordinary people are not able to afford them. So what is agitating our minds is how to bring the homes in at a lower cost. And like my brother said, land is one of the main issues. And so if government takes off the cost of land from the house, you reduce the cost of the house by a very significant percentage. And so that's one of the things that we have adopted, and I'm happy that he spoke about it. Aside from that, we are separating affordable housing from low-cost housing. Low-cost housing can be done with local materials and bring it in at a much lower cost, especially for the districts and the rural areas. While for the more standard housing, apartments and so on and so forth, they are more suited to an urban environment. So I want to thank President Ruto for leading on this. He might add it to his hat as one of the next things he's championing. He already has a lot of things he's championing. But I can assure you that Ghana will be right beside you.
And we contend ourselves with having these stated as maxims or axioms in textual formulation existing in some fading parchment of a constitution in each of our countries. We have come to a point now where we all must appreciate that these rights mean absolutely nothing if they do not translate into tangible benefits for the ordinary people. They need decent housing. They live in overcrowded conditions of abject poverty and squalor. They look to that assemblage of persons that they have elected to lead their country, determine their fate, to provide answers to these pressing and trenchant problems that trouble them on a daily basis. We happen to be, for our respective countries, that eminent assemblage of persons given the task of leading. It therefore is our task, our obligation, to provide answers to these questions. Kenya is leading by example. We saw that they have begun to provide real answers to the challenge of housing in Kenya. They have committed themselves to building several hundreds of thousands of houses across the length and breadth of their republic. They speak to real problems affecting real people, everyday people, every day. Many of these people are subsidizing the economies of their countries. We know that if any employee has to spend more than 40% of their earnings, their salary, paying rent, then that employee is but a working destitute. And so we have to provide this housing within easy access of where employment opportunities are available. Anything short of that would amount to mere rhetoric or platitudes. Botswana, inspired by Kenya, is also now providing its own answer We have inaugurated a program we call Bunno Affordable Housing, Bunno meaning shelter or residence or a home. We aim to build 100,000 houses within the next 3 years in Botswana. We do this because Botswana is a rapidly urbanizing country. Our rate of urbanization is in excess of the African average of 44% and the world average of 55%. Botswana's rate of urbanization is now sitting at 66.6%. We therefore must provide answers urgently, boldly, and decisively. Our people expect no less. And so I'm happy to join President Ruto, President Mahama, and other presidents across the breadth and dimensions of the African continent who will respond with speed and dispatch to this challenge of providing decent housing, decent shelter to our people. We have engaged with local banks. We have currently an advanced conversation with 3 financial institutions in Botswana. They have asked for a number of things as our contribution to the project. They ask for land to be availed. Government has committed fully to the provision of land. They have asked for other concessions in relation to the building materials, some of which they have to import, that government go easy on any import duties. The reason we also have to play our part as government is first to cement this partnership between government and the private sector, but also to ensure that we cap the price of each housing unit within ranges of easy affordability for our people. We have set a living wage that should make it somewhat easier for our people to finance, to afford, to have access to these housing units that we're building. In Botswana, I'm sure like in other places, especially in the villages, we have land boards which allocate a parcel of land to each citizen who applies. We've faced challenges in relation to this program because many of the places where the land would otherwise be availed are unserviced, have no access to decent water, potable water, sanitation, roads, and such infrastructure. Our conversation with the banks involves servicing the land in addition to developing these housing units that we envisage. And we've begun. The housing units are being delivered on an ongoing basis across the country. We've apportioned, because our country has 61 constituencies. We will have a minimum of 1,000 houses in each constituency so that we do not disproportionately allocate and distribute these resources.